Okay, so here we have the engine I just got. This RADUGA, or however you pronounce that, 0.40 or 7cc. I'm guessing that's around 0.40. I put the muffler on it, and I'm not going to take it back off because that was an extremely big pain in the ass. There's no gasket that goes here. It's kind of just like a crush fit, I guess, or whatever you'd want to call it. See the exhaust pressure tap there. Yeah, anyways, let's get on to taking this thing apart here. Like I said, I'm not removing the muffler because it was an extreme big pain in the ass to put on. So let's get rid of this prop spinner. And she uses the world's smallest Tommy bar. Here's a prop spinner. There's no holes in it for the prop at all, and this is like an aluminum piece. So I'm guessing you have to cut your own holes in there or something like that. I've never seen anything like that before. And the prop we're going to be using is a master air screw 10x7 when we're going to start it. And this, like I said before, is a plain bearing engine, meaning not airplane bearing, but there's no ball bearings in it. I've already been into this engine once because it was stuck. It's very tight to turn over. This engine actually does have a steel piston. I undid most of the head screws because there's 6 of them, and I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to watch me sit there and piddle around with that stuff. Okay. Okay, so here's our cylinder head. Has a glow plug in it with an idle bar. I don't know what number the glow plug is. I haven't taken it out yet. I'm sure it says in the manual somewhere. I have to have a friend of mine translate that for me. But, yeah, there's the cylinder head. Head gasket. And I don't like this style of backplate with that you have to use a big key to open. They're a big pain in the ass. I actually used my file then. It fit perfectly. So, unscrew this guy. Like I said, I'm not taking the muffler off because it's a big pain in the ass. And you can see there. You can see inside the back. See the connecting rod there and the crankshaft. Let's see if we can get this sleeve to come out. Actually, the sleeve wasn't too badly stuck in there. This engine is going to go for full cleaning. Like, I'm going to fully take it apart, like all the way, break it down, and clean the snot out of it before it ever gets run. So here's a piston sleeve. I'm just going to go behind me and grab a magnet to see if that is actually steel. Feels like steel, looks like steel. I'll use the magnet off my flashlight, maybe that'll work. Yep, steel sleeve. Okay. Quite large, this sleeve. Right, let's move on. And let's take out the piston, which is also steel, I think. Or cast iron or something like that. It's kind of dirty in there. It's not horrible, but it's the old... With these Russian engines, they didn't put them together with oil. They use something called cosmoline, which they used to put guns together with and all sorts of other stuff. And they cover engine parts in it. It's like a thick petroleum kind of goo, and it's really sticky and nasty. That's kind of what that brown stuff is on everything. I've done a smell test. It doesn't smell like it's ever been run before. Yeah, this piston here is also magnetic. So I did put a tiny scratch in the back of the rod so I knew which way it would go back in. And let's move forward and take out yon crankshaft. Here's the crank. Quite a large crankshaft. There's my hand for comparison. Quite an odd counterweight on this crankshaft. I've never seen one like that before. Usually the counterweights are much more round than that. I don't think it's ever been machined. It looks like it was casted like that and then machined. So yeah, you can see that cosmoline goop on there. Like I said, you can scratch it off with your fingernail. I don't really want that going through my motor. So okay, we're gonna have a look in the back here. Might have made it worse, but you can see kind of some of that funk on the inside there. I'm not going to remove the carburetor because these screws are stuck and I don't want to strip them. I hate flathead screws. This is going to be all converted to Allen caps. And You can see a little bit more of that goop in there, and if you look really careful, you can see, maybe it'll show up better in the front. Yeah, there you go. You can see here, there's the bronze bushing, like I said. So this is a plain bearing, so this is a plain bearing. There's no ball bearings in this engine at all. Which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. There's lots of engines that run that way. I mean, car engines run that way, and there's, you know, they don't fall apart. The only thing I don't like about a plain bearing is when these get old, or you don't run enough castor oil in the fuel, which is going to be lots added. The crankshaft can start to hammer. It'll get loose in here, it'll start to hammer up and down, it'll eventually take the motor out if you don't run enough castor oil in your fuel mixture. Give a little spritz of brake clean there. Let's see if that goop will come off. Oh, kinda. Yeah, you can see it there. It looks like poop. No good. Yeah, well, maybe I should do it in front of the camera. Durr. It's been a long day. I have heat exhaustion. I'm friggin' tired. It's, like I said, it's probably almost damn near 40 degrees outside here. It's really hot. Disgustingly hot. Sticky hot. No wind. It's awful. Okay, so let's clean it up a little bit here. I'm just using non-chlorinated brake cleaner. Be careful with brake cleaner, especially the non-chlorinated kind, because if you burn it, or it goes on certain plastics, it can make them fall apart, such as carburetors and such. So really be careful when you're using that stuff. It's not good. And non-chlorinated brake clean also, so if you burn it or try to set it on fire, it can create what's called phosgene gas, which is extremely bad for your health. Very poisonous, actually. Yeah, so it looks okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I'll give this inside of this crankcase a little hose here, some brake cleaner. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm going to throw this through the dishwasher. Not literally. Don't do that. Don't be your wife or your old lady or whoever might get very upset with you if you do that. So we're just going to add some castor oil to it. This is Klotz castor oil. I believe David uses the same thing with his engines when he's mixing fuel or whatever. That stuff dries pretty quick. So you can never have too much oil with a plain bearing engine. It's like a Cox 049 if you want to think of it that way. There's no bearings in it. That gasket's looking a little shitty underneath there. I'm going to see if I can have an O-ring that's that same size. And I got our piston here. Let's see if we can compare it to anything. Oh, well, let's use my hand. So you can see it's quite large. Let's, for fun, let's whip out the calipers here and see what size it is. Let's see what we got there. On 0. Yeah, okay. So we're in millimeters, and we're going to see. So this piston is 21.43. This thing's been dropped a million times, so it's not super accurate anymore. I actually need to get a new one, so that's on the to-do list. But, yeah, call it 21 millimeters, roughly, whatever. And circumference is roughly about the same, 21.2. Yeah, so that just gives you an idea how big it is. This is inside 6 millimeters. So overall, pretty big parts. I mean, a lot bigger than what I'm used to working with. So the steel wrist pin, like I said, steel piston. These scratches here, there's no scratches on the inside of the liner, and you can't feel these with your thumbnail at all. Like you can't. So kind of odd seeing a steel piston like that. Really different. And there's no bearings either in this engine, like I said, at all. There's no crankshaft bearing, and there's no connecting rod bearing, if you guys can see. That's a little bit of focus. Thank you. If you can see in there, among the schmutz, there's no bronze bushing in there. Most connecting rods will have a bronze bushing here, and they'll sometimes, well, depending on the engine, they'll have one in the top too. This one doesn't have any at all, but everything's nice and tight in there. You can obviously tell it's never been run, so I'm going to continue to clean these parts out and keep going here as wipe off some of this stuff. Like I said, this Cosmoline junk is not friends to your engine whatsoever. It's great if you're letting shit sit in a damp environment or storage forever, but you always got to clean it off before you start having to play with your motors and whatnot. Yeah, as long as it's not inside that bearing surface, it should be okay. And I want to invest in what David uses, that ultrasonic cleaner. I just haven't actually had the time or the money to buy one at the moment, because mortgage payments are kind of more important than motors sometimes. Yeah, see that? That Cosmoline gunk right in the oil passage here, so that could have caused that connecting rod not to get enough oil. That could have been a bad thing. What's that with a little bit more brake clean? Stuff's like a fire hose. It sprays really far. Quite a powerful jet. Oof. Stuff reeks too. I'm in a well-ventilated area, so I'm fine, but well, there's going to be someone out there that's going to bitch about that probably. That's okay. They can bitch all they want. I really do not care. Okay, how are we doing here? 11 minutes. We're not doing too bad. Right. Okay, so I'm going to hose the cylinder out really quick. Get rid of any contamination. And I would like, I watch David's videos all the time. David McIntyre, really great guy. Awesome videos as always. He runs some of his engines on FAI fuel or zero nitro. Here where I live, we can't get that anymore because no one really flies nitro or FAI engines anymore. It's just kind of, I guess in the States it's a little different than here. People are kind of like, oh, let's go electric, it's quieter, you know, blah, 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 whatever. So, our sleeve is nice and clean. It's kind of hard to get, and it's actually quite expensive. A lot of people say, oh, you know, just get airplane fuel, get a gallon of airplane fuel, run your stuff on airplane fuel. Well, airplane fuel in my area is kind of hard to find, just regular nitro airplane fuel. And it's often expensive, and if you have to order it, you often have to order a whole case, which where I live is $200. So that's kind of a lot of money to spend on fuel, you know what I mean? It's not really that fair. I would make my own fuel, but because of Safety Canada, we can't buy pure nitromethane here without a good reason and a whole lot of nonsense and hoops to jump through unless you're drag racing. And I don't have a drag racer. I'd like to have one, but I don't. So that kind of blows. In the US, they always get all the good stuff. We over here in Canada kind of suffer from that, or suffer from not getting the good stuff, you know what I mean? Kind of pisses me off. Freaking people. So we're going to put our piston back in. And what I'm going to basically be using is RC car fuel with a 16% oil content. And I'm going to add a whole crap load of castor oil to it. Just so it'll be like airplane fuel. I'm actually going to try to make my own FAI fuel from hardware store methanol that I'm going to clean up and dry, and then add a bunch of castor oil to it. Maybe like a 60-30 mixture or something like that. Lots of oil, because like I said, these plain bearing engines need a lot of castor oil in them to keep them alive. So, because once that inner bearing wears out, like I said, the crankshaft will start to hammer, and bad things will happen. I'm going to put Afteron oil on the outside of the sleeve. It just helps it go in easier. That it doesn't varnish the sleeve into the block like castor oil will over time. So just keep that in mind. Okay. There we are. And this is a pinched cylinder. Like I said, I can't really turn it by hand. Well, I can, but it's, once it gets up to around the top, it gets quite tight. So, very interesting engine. Like I said, this is an old Russian-made engine. RADUGA, made in the 70s or early 80s, I believe. And, put our washer back on. I'm gonna have to figure out how to make this this deal right here work. I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna do there yet, but I'm sure there's a way. There's a way. Some kind of top secret Russian technique or something like that. I don't know. Maybe one of you awesome people out there in YouTube land can tell me. Okay, oops. And I want to put on our back cover. There's also a gasket that goes there, which is a metal washer. So we're going to put this guy back on. Then we're going to use a file to tighten it with. You don't need to make these super crazy tight because they're a pain in the ass to get them off. If you over tighten them or if you strip them, then you're really buggered. So we're going to take our head gasket, put that on the cylinder head. Kind of bent the head gasket, but whatever, it'll be fine. It'll straighten out. Quite thin, that head gasket. Drop our head back down and tighten up the screws. Most engines usually have 4 head screws. This one's got 6. They're all flathead. Like I said, I don't like flathead screws because they're bloody annoying. I can adjust that throttle arm too. I got the carburetor to free up. This is an air bleed carburetor as well, I think. Or I could be wrong. I don't know a whole lot about airplane carburetors, but I'm guessing. So call me wrong if you want. That is completely up to you at the end of the day. Like I said, I can't put the prop on right now and turn it over very well because of that stupid prop spinner idea they have on here, so I'm gonna have to figure out another way. But there it is for now. It's actually a pretty nice looking engine, I think. Kind of shiny, pretty simplistic, nothing really to it. Like I said, quite large. Like I said, it says 7M, so I'm guessing it's around 7 cc's. I'll have to look in the book and I'll put the displacement in the description below. But yeah, there it is. Oops, that's not from this engine. That's a seal from a bearing I put in a different engine earlier. But there it is, RADUGA 7M. Novexport, Moscow, Russia. This Novexport company here, they also make the little MK17 diesel engines, little red ones. So same company. But yeah, so like I said, there'll be more on this later. I will have a running video. I'm not exactly sure when, but enjoy for now, guys, and keep burning nitro. Bye.